We missed it. Nope, I did it on the tree. Yeah, it's going to be all done in the next week.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling this meeting of the Halton Police Board to order. And welcome to the meeting, everybody. Before we get into our formal portion of the meeting, I just wanted to draw attention to my colleagues on the board. You've already heard this, I know, but I just want to reinforce it. And also to anybody watching on streaming, that everybody's invited to Police Day on Saturday, May 13th, which is from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, rain or shine, here at police headquarters. I know that members of the community have missed this during the pandemic. It's a great fun day, particularly for the little girls and guys that are dreaming of being police officers someday. So please mark your calendars for Saturday, May 13th. To all the board members, it would be great if we could have 100% of our happy team there. Those who can make it, those who have other obligations, we fully understand. So that'll be rain or shine here at headquarters. And for those of you watching on streaming, headquarters is located at 2485 North Service Road here in Oakville. There'll be more information, there is more information on the service website at haltonpolice.ca. So please check it out, and I hope to see you here. It is going to be a fun day. And thanks to the team within the service for getting this organized. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Members of the board, first of all, we'll ask our committee secretary, do we have any regrets today?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Councillor Somerville has regrets today.
Thank you. Any disclosures of pecuniary or conflicts of interest to report today, members of the board? I'm not seeing any, so we'll move on. I want to draw your attention to the minutes that were circulated for our last session, which was held on March 30th. I would look for a motion to approve the circulated minutes. Thank you, Navneet. Seconded by Lisa. Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions, errors, or omissions to report on those minutes? I'm not seeing any. And just for for clarification, the minutes being approved are, of course, the public minutes for March 30th, the HRPS CCH partnership presentation, the public complaints and public and PSB for March 30th, and the professional development presentation that was delivered that day. All in favor? Carried. We do not have any presentations or delegations for this morning's meeting, and we have that was you. Okay, that was me. I thought that sounded like a charming individual. We have, let's start with our agenda, starting with 3.1. Actually, we have 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 are information items. Are there anybody wishing to separate those? And for the public, that's C's fund statement. The HRPS audits for 2022, I do believe we have a separation on that, and the quarterly human resources summary. Kurt.
C's fund.
C's fund. So, well, let's go through each one of them, though, because I think that these are all going to be of interest today to members of the board. So we'll start with C's funds, and you have the floor, sir.
I think this is a question, Mr. Chair, for the chief. I noticed that there's an amount of $399,000. I think that's kind of in and out. And I'm just wondering if there's an explanation for, I assume it's in regard to an investigation where money was seized and returned or something. Is that the case?
Yes, absolutely. No, thank you, Mr. Allen. And through the chair, there is, every year there is money in and out. But as the board would know, we seize currency and sometimes Bitcoin. But currency in this case through a variety of investigations, whether they're drugs or human trafficking or otherwise. So that's where the money flows in. It flows out primarily in two different ways. One is the court orders that some or all of it is returned at some point, or on occasion that it's released to the defense counsel as the way for the individual to make payment. But also in a large number of cases, the trial goes on and the funds are ordered forfeited to Her Majesty, His Majesty, I suppose now. So he's becoming returned.
Thank you. Anything further on these funds, 3.1? Can I get a motion from you to receive the report, Kurt? Thank you.
Oh, man.
Can I get a second, please? Thank you, Jane. All in favor? 3.2, the HRPS audits 2022. I know that there were some questions on this. Now, do you want to read yourself?
Yes. So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to understand on the Ontario regulation, perhaps there's a question for Fred, some clarity around the board's duties with respect to implementing a quality assurance program. I wonder if this is actually an independent program that we have right now. We'd like to have it more independent. Is that something that the board can do as well?
Rick, do you want to, what's that?
Yeah. So, the adequacy standard says that every board and chief of police shall implement a quality assurance process related to the delivery of adequate and effective policing and compliance with the Act and its regulations. Board policy as well.
The board can determine its own process to ensure everything is independent as well.
There's no restrictions on that. There's also an inspection program done by the Solicitor General. Soon to be the Inspector General will be taking that over.
Okay.
And I think there's probably also financial audits by, does the municipality do that, Paul?
Correct.
So there's 3 sets of audits. In here, under different terms. Some are called inspections, that's what the Solicitor General calls them. In financial terms, audit. The adequacy standard term is quality assurance programs, but it's essentially the same thing. And of course, there's different degrees of detail. The board's policy, which was adopted in 2001, is that the board's to ensure that audits on delivery of the service for adequacy and effectiveness pursuant to the Act and its regulations are undertaken. And to support this policy, the Chief of Police shall develop and maintain audit procedures and processes to ensure compliance with the Act and its regs. And report to the board semi-annually on the outcome of any comprehensive audit undertaken regarding the delivery of the service. And then annually report on the outcome of the compliance audit. That's it. Perfect.
Okay.
I know that the chief wanted to comment as well. Do you mind setting aside for the chief?
Yeah, no, certainly. Thank you, through the chair. I know audits are always of interest, and they should be to the board. I and we are all confident that we have a very robust audit process in place here. It used to be Sue Mahar, now Kelly Sullivan, with very detailed audits, and especially into some of our areas which require that more. For example, the drug exhibits, financial currency that we have, forensic science exhibits, and you'll see all of that laid out in the report. And I'll turn it over to Deputy Chief Wilkie in a moment as well, because he's made some inquiries this morning to assist the board. But largely the issues where there is non-compliance are very unimportant, if I could say that. In years gone by, it was a missing teddy bear in the trunk of a car. It might be a key fob, which is unaccounted for, but not that's, containing criminal intelligence information or anything like that. So we do, I have a lot of confidence in the audit. I understand the issue or the maybe desire for independence. We do have that on the financial side, as Mr. Laverne commented. I would think maybe it would be an opportunity for the board or members of the board to receive a little bit more information about what is actually already done, see all the work that's done so that you have the level of confidence that we do before we look at spending monies for an independent audit from a PwC or Deloitte type of organization, and that would not be budgeted for this year, but how we would fund that. So I know Roger has, I think, some particular, more specific comments, but
To the chair, just in terms of this actual report, you'll see that 853 audits were completed, although 863 were required. Those relate to our transition to electronic notes and the process of supervisors trying to figure out how to navigate to getting to someone else's phone and doing that. So that's been resolved through training, and we shouldn't see that issue next year. In terms of the compliance rate, we saw an increase of 2.3% in terms of compliance, but some of the areas that where we missed the mark were, again, notebooks, vehicle inspections, where basically you do a quick scan of what there's a bin in a car, in the trunk of a car, and we're missing the number of flares, or we're missing a spare e-token. So really, they're still important, but they're not of a critical nature where it would impact our operational effectiveness or public trust and confidence. So just wanted you to be aware of that. Thank you.
Sure. I just wanted to make a couple of comments here. What caught my attention, and I'm sure it caught your attention, is the challenges in handling the seized items. And I think I noted there where a number of them were not where they should be or should have been, and there's a small number of them that were missing or not locatable at the time of the review. The report didn't really tell me what the nature of those items were, which I wish it had, because that probably would have put my mind a little bit more at rest potentially. So could you comment on what they were? As all of us know, these items are items that really were seized under the authority of the criminal code in concert with an investigation, and they're being held in safe storage in preparation for a potential court case or something of that nature. And when we have an issue with their handling of them, I think it's a serious matter potentially. And so I'd just like a little more information on your thoughts around those particular comments that are in the report.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Deputy Chief Hill has some comment first.
I believe the items you were talking about were pieces of property that, for the purposes of the audit did its job and found that the items weren't accounted for, and an investigation is commenced into why that's happened. And then the ones I'm thinking of, the investigation was able to prove that the items were actually returned to the owner. We have quite an extensive video system in this area, so we were able to prove and see that the items were returned to the person, and then in the end it was a clerical error. That was
so those items are no longer
correct
in question.
Correct.
Thank you. As for the items that weren't where they should be, is there an explanation for that? Is that somebody that's familiar with their process or something, or?
The items were they were returned, and then the error was the person just didn't come back and make the clerical. It was an example of two items with two cell phones, and one was recorded correctly, but the other one wasn't. So it showed up that one was still missing and outstanding. And when we were able to go back and investigate, you can see that everything was actually properly returned. There was no issue there, and we just had to make the correction in the clerical error. It's actually very, in regards, especially our property management area, it's very, the members that work in there are very sensitive to this type of work, and they've got a lot of processes where they're double-checking, back-checking each other's work, and anything like that will result in an investigation of something's missing.
In regard to looking at it through quality assurance lens, how often is that area, if not audited, like what quality assurance is undertaken, and how frequently in the course of a year to make sure that everything's okay?
There's different levels. There's, like with our drugs that we have in custody, there's property. The audit unit itself will do an audit on our property management and physically do a hands-on physical audit where they're walking in to make sure that, okay, this is what we have. And even in the intake, when the intake comes in, our members are sitting on the other end that work in that area. Okay, this is what says on this piece of paper. This is what I'm holding in my hand. This is what's going in there. And we've actually doing a barcoding project right now that we're in the course of trying to complete. And the barcoding will assist even more in that area where there will no longer be people necessarily handwriting things down, putting them in a locker. There'll be a barcoding system when it comes in. But even in that scenario, there'll still be a physical compliance check when the barcoding comes in. The member that works in there is going to look at it and say, yes, in fact, this is it. The bag is sealed. This is what I've got. Here's where I'm taking it. And then the barcoding system will keep track of all these pieces of property.
So the continuity of evidence really in large part is electronic, the evidence of it is electronic.
It's electronic, but it's also even physical, in the sense that not anybody can just get into this area. It's very controlled and who can go in, and it's all on video, and we're very conscious of the issue of ever missing anything or having breaches of that type of security.
Thank you.
Any more first-time speakers? Okay, Natalie, you can grab again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think the Ontario Regulation 399 does speak to the fact that the Police Service Act, requires the quality assurance program, and I think we have a very good one, and the service conducts many audits. The only thing I feel is maybe missing is that the board does not have an independent quality assurance program, and I think we might want to address that issue somehow. And also, this is the way to actually look at opportunities where perhaps the service can also benchmark its own practices with other services. Perhaps we might want to look at something like that. Chair, so I think I would like to make a motion to actually come up with some sort of a process where the board provides an independent quality assurance program.
Well, I do happen to know that we have some wording for you on this particular matter, and I would ask that our secretary read the suggested motion into the minutes and to the record, and if you're satisfied with that, then you'd be at your discretion to make that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It would be that the Halton Police Board direct the Chief Governance Officer to prepare a report prior to the end of 2023 on an independent quality assurance audit of service policies to be conducted on behalf of and reported directly to the board.
That meets your needs. Would you like to move that motion?
I would.
Okay, so I would like you, if this is okay with you, to move that motion, also the receipt of the audit report that was presented today. Okay, so that's the motion, and we still have a chance to chat about it. Let's just get that on the floor. So it's been moved. Is there a seconder to that motion? Kurt, thank you. So that's that two-part motion is on the floor. Are there further members of the board wishing to discuss that? Not seeing any. Kurt?
I'm just wondering if the secretary, Mr. Chair, can reread the motion.
Sure, certainly. That the Halton Police Board direct the Chief Governance Officer to prepare a report prior to the end of 2023 on an independent quality assurance audit of service policies to be conducted on behalf of and reported directly to the board, and that the information item on HRPS audits 2022 be received for information.
The word service policies, how, that audit policy we're looking at, what?
That would include.
That would include?
That would include the audit. All policies.
All policies of this, right?
All service policies, right?
Well, would you like to add an additional word? I mean, where's your
Well, all service, what I'm thinking about is audit and quality assurance.
Okay.
We're not talking about HR policies here.
Okay. So would you like to, so right now it's service policies, correct? Do you want to say service, comma, quality assurance, comma, audit? Okay.
Including audit.
Including, yeah.
Including.
Okay.
I need some clarification, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Just to clarify, you want this. Can you read it back one more time?
As amended.
As amended, yes. So I apologize if I haven't caught this correctly. It's that the Halton Police Board direct the Chief Governance Officer to prepare a report prior to the end of 2023
on an independent quality assurance audit of service quality assurance and audit policies to be conducted on behalf of and reported directly to the board. Mr. Allen, did I capture your requested change?
So I just want to clarify, this is focused only on the services audit capability, not on delivery of services.
All three,
No, it would be-
service, comma, quality assurance, comma, policy, so it includes basically all of the above. Lisa, you wanted the...
Sure, the question to the mover, I just want to understand how the comprehensive audits that are contained in this report will be handled. Are those expected to be included, and are you looking for a tiered report back from the CGL on what options would be contained to address all QA, all policies at large, comprehensive audit policies, just looking to scope that?
So I think, I'm trying to address the regulation. And so, and the responsibility for the board is compliance, to service policies and board policies. So we're looking at whether the service actually complies to all of those service policies.
Is that helpful?
That's helpful.
Okay.
That's comprehensive.
And just for everybody's comfort and assurance, this is a report only. We're not actually ordering anything at this juncture, so we're looking for options. And pros and cons as to whether we should do this, shouldn't do this, what the cost can be, et cetera. So this is a very early ask, an exploratory ask that we do by the end of the year. Okay. Chief.
Yeah, I would just suggest that any board member that's interested have the opportunity to meet Kelly Sullivan, who does our audits, have a look at our property area when it comes to the property type of audit. I think that may help you make up your mind on the extent of external independent audit and how much you plan to spend on that. And if you're going to have a PwC or KPMG or some sort of organization audit all of our policies, I am comfortable with all of our policies. I don't have any concern about them. But we also have the ministry who audit our most important policies or the policies of greatest risk. So the ministry does perform somewhat of that role for the board. I'm just concerned about the cost and any impact on our budget. There are separate budgets, but I'm not sure how we would do that.
Separate budget thing. I think that it's important to emphasize that I don't think there's anything coming out of today's resolution that in any way suggests that the audit policies are not necessarily adequate or that they're not, that there are any flaws. The issue really is the board wanting to take responsibility for its responsibilities under the Police Service Act and our own governance policies that we're establishing. So it's really meant to be an enhancement of our understanding and execution of our role, as opposed to any sort of investigative or punitive, actions. Now, did you have a comment?
Yes, just a question for the chief. You mentioned the ministry audit. When was the last audit that was conducted by the ministry?
We will check on that. It did change a little bit during COVID, but for example, they've missing persons, and our policy on missing persons is always of a concern. That's been audited within the last couple of years. Yeah, major case management is another one that Deputy Hill was just mentioning. So they prioritize 2 or 3 policy areas normally every year. I would say that's fallen off a little bit in recent years, probably because of COVID, but I think the ministry representative who's not here today, I'd mentioned that in a recent board meeting, that they'll be getting back to that.
Okay, thank you.
Kurt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe a question for the chief. I know you have a lot of policies, probably hundreds of policies. I remember how many local organizations I I mean, from my perspective and my perspective alone, if this is arising out of the report that we've got here, I think the priority is on chief quality assurance and audit policy. I would suggest that we consider starting there and see what time before we embrace on chief's point, quite a significant expenditure to review what might be hundreds of policies. I don't know if you know how many policies you have, but I know it's a lot.
And we can get that number. It will never be as many as that prior organization, but we do have quite a few, and I'll get that number for you before the end of the meeting.
Just want to reemphasize, though, that this is a request for report at this point, so that report would have options, and then we can basically, like, dim sum, pick and choose what we want as we're going through and putting through the report. Now I'm getting hungry.
I just noted that as one of the options.
Okay,
Good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Further discussion on this matter? Not seeing any. I just have a quick question, and I know that this question was answered before, but just for the sake of rounding up the conversation, I know that we did have one incident years ago where there was narcotics went missing from a lockup, and there was what was the follow-up on that in terms of improving security around that particular circumstance to ensure it doesn't happen in the future? Wait, I heard what you said.
Yeah, we did.
That's the camera matter, yes.
We did add a camera in a different location for that purpose. That would have been an extremely difficult situation or incidents to prevent, but we're comfortable that it's been addressed.
I mean, if you wouldn't mind, maybe under verbal updates, we get into the in-camera session, maybe you could just address that quickly. Thank you.
Sure.
I'll go back to the board one last time for comments and questions on 3.2. There are comments or questions. I'm sorry to do this to you, Graham. Can you just review the motion one more time because it's not in the agenda, just so that the public and the board knows what we're voting on?
Happy to, Mr. Chair. That the Halton Police Board direct the Chief Governance Officer to prepare a report prior to the end of 2023 on an independent quality assurance audit of service, quality assurance and audit policies to be conducted on behalf of and reported directly to the board, and that report P2304-IO2 HRPS Audits 2022 be received for information.
Thank you. That's the motion, folks. It's been moved by Navneet and seconded by Kurt Allen. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Good work, everybody. 3.3, quarterly human resources summary. Ingrid.
I have a question, Mr. Chair. Thank you. When I look at the current vacancies, there are 6 for staff sergeant, 2 for detective sergeant, 1 for sergeant, and 3 for detectives. And based on the discussion we just had regarding the audit, where in the audit findings, we were informed that noting some of the bottlenecks and compliance challenges, that we need to place more emphasis on the demands of the inspectors and the detective sergeants. So the question is, if we're short these 12 people, how are we managing in terms of addressing those issues?
Chief first, then Deputy.
Yeah, I'm going to turn that over to Deputy Chief Hill, but in anticipation of your question, we brought the whole HR team here. And
all right. I was wondering who all the people were.
We wanted to, we know when we need backup, so we had said to Tracy if she could have our newest members come so that we could introduce them just quickly to the board today, and we wanted to have the amount of team members that were here today to also come. So, but go ahead.
So, Chief, are all the people that entered the room just a few minutes ago in HR?
Yes.
Wow.
Ellie could be kind of in HR. Spends a lot of time in HR, if that counts.
President Bale is also in HR.
Wonderful. Okay, so.
Sorry, did you want?
So the answer is, sorry.
Sorry, do you want to take a moment to actually introduce the crew, or were you just introducing them corporately?
Or we could do it after Jeff's answered.
Okay.
Too much pressure on the whole team. The answer is, the problem with this report that we provide you is it's always outdated. By the time you get it, it's outdated. So that we're not down 6 staff sergeants. As of May 1st, we will be promoting them. We're not down 21 police officers. We've got 18 people at the school. We've just hired 5 experienced. and by the time we get to the next point, we'll actually be over our number. And in the civilian portion, we're also not down that many. It's just the report's trying to catch up to all the posting that our amazing people behind us do. They're constantly working on it, they do an amazing job, and you're just, unfortunately, this report just can't keep up to how fast my people can work. So we're not actually down those people.
We are recruiting faster than what the vacancies arise.
Correct.
In other words, it's a snapshot in time.
Yeah, snapshot of time.
Yeah, okay.
So we're confident that we have the bench straight.
We are on top of it. We just hired some, the chief's about to promote some excellent people on May 1st that you probably will get to meet. So we definitely, we're good there.
So kudos to that great HR team then. Thank you. It was good timing.
Set it up just perfectly.
Chief, did you want to introduce the new team?
Well, I'll start by saying, first of all, we have 308 service policies, so that's small in comparison to the probably 1,000 that one federal agency might have. And I'll turn it over to Jeff and Tracy to combine introduce people.
I know we have 3 new members. 4 new members. One's not here today, Jose Tremblay. But I thought it would be important that you see all of the other members as well, not just the new members. So if you'll just be patient with me, I'd like to introduce the new members and then all those that have been here for many years supporting this fine group here and as well as the service and working together. And we have one member that's leaving as of today as well. So maybe I'll introduce her first as Nancy. Nancy's been on contract with us and is a historical HRPS member. Today's her last day, so we're celebrating her arrival and departure today as she's going on to bigger and better things. Some of our newer members, and I'll start with the older newer member, is Louise Moore, right behind me.
We'll get you to stand up.
You can stand up at least
Thanks.
to say. So Louise has been here just over a year, but you have not all met her as well. We have Sarah Harwood, who's been here less than a year, and she just started on. And where is she hiding? Oh, Lauren Pucci's been here 3 weeks, so she's our newest member. Jose has been here 4 weeks, but she's not here today. Then I'll go through. We have Karen Bednar, who's been here for several years supporting the team. We have Catherine Baumgartner. I'm going back and forth, sorry. Excellent part of the team. Kristen Brill as well. And if I say their last names wrong, I usually only use their first name. We have Im Lee as well, who's been a member of the team. Ian Davis and Bruno Cervini as well. And we're missing Monique, who's not here today as well. And we have Lynn and Nicole from payroll that's transferring over from finance to our team May 1st, who aren't here today. They're on the hybrid model, so they're at home. Did I miss anybody from the team? And then we have wellness as well, who could not be here today.
Can you just maybe let the board know what the role is that the new members are, because those are critical positions that we've been working to fill.
So Jose is our new abilities management HR advisor. So that's been one of the pieces we've been talking about. Part of our strategy is bringing over disability management from the region back over to HRPS. Catherine Baumgartner is going to be moving over to support that team, to support the integration and the rolling back into the accommodations and reintegration back into the organization. And Lauren is going to be supporting staffing and labor relations. So she's been added into that group with her background as well. So you're going to see even more movement throughout our quarterly reports. And now we finally have our team. Therefore, you'll see some movement with the strategy, and you'll be seeing members of the team coming forward with presentations. So I just wanted them to meet all of you, and you have an opportunity to meet them, because we're very proud to have them here. So,
Thank you.
And thank you very
Anytime I
much.
need.
you can stay if you want, but you can go.
Thank you.
They know they're busy, so we're trying to keep it time for them. Thank you.
Good luck, Nancy. Thank you so much.
Take care.
I'm glad you explained it, because I thought we were having it in Vegas.
I thought they were throwing a party for me.
It's a false start.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, further on this matter, Lisa has a question.
Thank you very much through the chair to the deputy and maybe back to staff. So in light of recent provincial announcements, having this current vacancy rate hanging over us, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to provide us with an interim report that speaks to and catches up with the announcements that you shared that you'll be bringing on board. If we could get that as an information item for the next meeting, is that a possibility?
Well, we have, this is a quarterly report normally, right? But we are more, on the uniform side, we will be over strength now. I'm just not sure what.
Well, I recognize it's quarterly, but it sounded like there was an anomaly with some new hires or some new complements. So I'm wondering if we could do an interim report that would just close this gap as I think there's some conversation around capacity out there.
The numbers next month.
So the number that you're seeing there, the 20 that is on where it says 21 for the sworn side, all that you can see there is we've added the 20 that we were authorized to add as a result of the budget. So we were at strength at the end of the year. We added 20 bodies as a result of the budget. So you're seeing that 20, but because we're already ahead, that 20 has already been filled. So what it is because it's a snapshot in time, when you get the next quarterly report, it's going to show you that we're actually over strength.
So can you give us the interim report for the confidence that you're at full bench strength, just so we don't have to wait 3 months or more for that?
Or just for maybe do a memo update.
Just a memo.
Yeah, memo updating this report.
Sure.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? Kurt.
Mr. Chair, I have a quick comment. I just want to congratulate Service on the success that it's had in filling the position and building the human resource unit the way it's been done, particularly for Tracy. I know that this is going to lend great support in developing the HR strategy that the board is looking for, which now I'm sure will become a story. And so thanks very much. I sometimes view the civilian position vacancies and wonder, and I've asked questions in the past, but I know you're doing everything you can to fill them. The front line needs that support, and so I wish you success in moving forward on all of those vacancies. And basically, I'm looking forward to that HR strategy, which I know is very fulsome.
Chief, and before you speak, I just wanted to ask if perhaps you could include this in what you're going to say. I'll just add this question into the pile. Recent announcements from the province with respect to the police college tuition fees and the kind of strange announcement about the minimum qualifications. Would you be able to address, maybe speak to both of those announcements and how they would impact the Halton service?
Sure, but I mean, first what I wanted to do was thank both Tracy and Jeff, Deputy Chief Hill. They've worked on this. It's been a journey to, determine what we need in human resources and then to recruit them and to build the job descriptions. And then, as you see, the people now here today, so that's all a part of our taking back the disability management so we can do a more efficient job at that and better meet the needs of the service and our members. Certainly on the announcement, and it's more than welcome that the Ontario government has announced that they will fully fund the Ontario Police College rather than requiring monies to be paid by the recruits. So, as you can imagine, most of our recruits, first of all, are university graduates and or community college graduates. There are very few that would not be that and that level of education. But they were, over the past few years, required to pay an amount to the Ontario Police College to go there. And that's on top of all the other tuition that they've paid to get to the point where they're being hired. What we've done with that over recent years is that we would pay the amount to the Ontario Police College, and then we would recover that amount from the recruits over a period of years. I believe $100 every 2 weeks off of their paychecks. And Paul could correct me if I'm wrong or close.
3-year payback period.
Okay. So our newest recruits, including the ones that you just saw graduate at our recent graduation ceremony, it will go back retroactive to January 1st. So they will now not have to repay that money, and we will have to recuperate the money if we've already paid it to the college. So we will do that. As in a lot of cases, it's sort of like a point in time. So January 1st, 2023 is the point when the government decided to do this. So I think it is very difficult to address the years of recruits that have had or did have to repay funds. There are, I guess we have 2 or 2.5 years worth of recruits that are still at some stage of repaying this amount. On the education side, I think it's been misinterpreted and blown out of proportion by the media. Not the first time that the media do that sort of thing. But it's always been minimum grade 12, I believe, in the province of Ontario. So there is no change, but the reality is our recruits are college or university. I would say close to 100%. That's not going to change. It will have perhaps some helpful benefits or results for some of the police services who find it more difficult to attract university or college graduates. And in some way, some of our Indigenous police services serving the far north and otherwise have an extremely difficult time in recruiting, certainly in recruiting for their own diversity needs, but also for recruiting in general. So I think it may be helpful. But the reality is it was always grade 12. So there is no change in that. I wish the media would get it right, but I have no control over that. So I think it's a fabulous announcement. It will benefit our new recruits, obviously, at a time when they're, coming to a service such as ours, cost of living and housing, everything being what it is, it definitely will be beneficial.
And there is a second part of the announcement too. I think that they increased the cohort, or the number of cohorts that they're running through the college.
Yeah, for this year, they're going to go, I think, from 470 to 550, which for those that have been to an Ontario Police College graduation, it's a very full auditorium that day. It's going to be more full. Which is a good thing. And a part of that is that I think the province realized that they needed to absorb higher numbers because the board may have seen, I think there was $10 million or something that John Tory had not too long ago committed the Toronto Police budget to, which would mean the Toronto Police would be hiring a lot more people than they normally do. And that would have displaced some students from other police services. The OPP are also in need of hiring a lot of people. So the 470 to 550, 80, 240 people in a full year will definitely be beneficial. And then they're going to go they were also going to extend the program, I think, from 12 weeks to 13 and a half, maybe 14. We have been saying that for a long time. They need to do that because they need to have more education there on cultural awareness and mental health issues and a variety of other things that they, in a 12-week period, find it hard to fit into the curriculum. So that will be helpful. And then they are going, I believe, as of next year, to having 3 or 4 intakes instead of 3. So that if it's 13 weeks, that's pretty much a full year. It will be more or less back-to-back groups of 500 to 550 students going through there, which will further increase, I guess it'll put it up to about 750 more recruits per year than would have been able to go through there last year. So it will be helpful. On our own side of things, we have identified certain numbers of recruits that we're prepared to hire. And then sometimes we're told we do not have that many spots at the Ontario Police College, and we have to make someone wait until the next intake. This will probably help alleviate that.
About 18 there right now.
So we have 18 going to the college soon? Already there. Okay.
So the bottom line is, so the financial announcement is good news, obviously, but the second announcement really doesn't impact our hiring policies in any way whatsoever.
No.
Okay, thank you. Kurt?
I just follow up, if I may, Mr. Chair. And I've been tuned into the education requirements for a very long time, and I do think that, and I think, Chief, you hit it on the head, is that these organizations that are recruiting for remote, northern, whatever areas are very challenged to find university graduates who, for various reasons, want to spend their time in these communities. I think that's always been a challenge, and I don't think that challenge is going to change. But that doesn't overcome in itself the need for policing in those communities. So I welcome that the provincial requirements are a minimum requirement, and I think that Halton is on the right track doing what it's doing and can continue to do what it has been doing, but seeing all of them recognize that there are different needs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, members of the board? Just a question. Members of the board, particularly new members of the board, would you find it useful to have a presentation at some point in the near future by the service as to how the recruitment process actually works, and how we hire new police officers? Because I think for some of you it might be a little bit unknown as to what that process is, and especially in light of some of the changes. Would that be useful to you? Yeah, I'm hearing that. General. Okay, would that be something, yeah, we'll get a motion. Chief, did you have a comment?
Well, there's nothing ever that we can't do.
Yeah.
I was just running through my mind and checking with Jeff. I know Erin Cormier, who was in recruiting, fabulous recruiter, was here not too long ago, presenting to the board. We could check on that date as to what was covered there or what we could add of value for you.
So if you could, if we'll get a motion to that effect, that we request the service to provide a presentation on the recruiting process and our current status. Now, are you moving that? Sure. Sure. Is there a seconder to that? Is that Ingrid seconded? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on. I'm sorry, Mr. Secretary, did I receive the report yet? I can't remember. I think I jumped that motion.
No, you could incorporate it as part of the motion.
Okay. Mover and seconder, are you satisfied with receiving that report as part of your motion? Thank you. Okay, members of the board, let's move on in our agenda to our reports. We start at 4.1, which is the community fund policy. We do have to defer that cycle. Can I get a motion to defer that motion? Thank you. Motion to defer the motion. Motion to defer the item. Moved by Lisa, seconded by Ingrid. All in favor? That's carried. Okay. Operational verbal updates.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Public information action registry. Mr. CGO.
Yes, sir. There's a number of items there coming up this fall. Crime Stoppers in May. You're going to reach out to them, Kimberly. The community fund policy has been deferred, as you mentioned. We need to schedule the SIU presentation, Chief, sometime.
We'll come up with a date somehow.
Thanks. And then there were, otherwise, I believe there was 2 items added today. The secretary can help me out. One is that report on the options that you want to do, and the other one was the presentation on recycling.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to receive the updated, Roger?
Just a quick comment, we've already started the wheels in motion with Crime Stoppers, and they'll be here for the June 2nd, so you can scratch that off here.
Nice. Great.
Thank you.
Excellent. So can I get a motion to receive the updated action registry? Thank you, Kurt. Seconded by? Nav, thank you. All in favor? That's carried. You have received your public correspondence. It's been circulated and was on Dillatrust. Can I get a motion to receive that public correspondence, please? Jane, thank you. Can I get a seconder, please? Ingrid, thank you. All in favor? That's carried. I guess I should have asked anybody wish to raise any of the items for public correspondence before I call the vote. I'm not seeing any. Okay, so that vote is valid. It's been carried. Members of the board, is there any new business to come before today's meeting? Chief?
No, just if it assists the board and Fred in scheduling, Ken is here. What's the next couple of board dates? I just don't have them in front of me. June 2nd. June 2nd, and then we... 29th. And June 29th? I think we have, do we have two that month because we moved something around?
Yeah, the May one was pushed to June, I'm not sure why.
The OPSB conference conflicts with that date.
Okay, there you go.
So do we have June 29th, Grant?
Correct.
So I think Ken and the combination of Ken and Inspector Manillo will be able to do a presentation on June 29th. And Ken has been made aware of that now.
That's the SIU one. Yeah.
Yes.
Members of the board, and I'm sorry, I should have asked Fred this ahead of time, but as you all know, we have a new Inspector General of the Police Service, Ryan Teschner, formerly the Executive Director, was that the title? Executive Director of the Toronto staff, Chief of the Toronto Police Service. We enjoyed our presentation from the previous Inspector General. I'm wondering if we should formally, by resolution, invite Inspector General Teschner to come and present. Would you like to move that? Is that we can make the formal request? Seconded by? Kurt, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. I think a formal, by motion request to come and present, and we get to know him a little bit better and some of this plan. Chief?
Yeah, just when you mentioned that, and certainly I've known Ryan for a number of years, but that tweaked my thought to the fact on the positive side for this police service and for the board is both the previous Inspector General, Devon Clunas, and the Director of the OIPRD often put forward the Halton Regional Police policies as the sort of model for others to use, and not an audit of those things per se, but it certainly is certainly a positive indicator.
Members of the board, is there anything further? Okay, so we are now the appropriate time to take a motion to move into the session close to the public. Kurt is mover, seconded by Jane. Thank you very much. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, we are going to be moving into a session close to the public, so that means to anybody watching us on streaming that our streaming portion of today's board meeting is over. I want to thank you very much for tuning in and paying attention to the civilian governance of your Halton Police Service. We always welcome your careful observation, your comments, your feedback, and we're so grateful that you took the time to tune in today. Just one more time, a reminder of Police Day. This is the last board meeting before that, so Police Day is Saturday, May 13th from 12 to 4, rain or shine, here at Police Headquarters. We hope that members of the public will come and join us as we celebrate the police service. I think that the Solicitor General announced the theme yesterday. I saw something come out. What?
Building bridges.
Is it Building Bridges? Is that what it is? Thank you. So that's the theme of this year's Police Week.
Bridges and partnerships, and the board certainly saw an example of that with Andrew Terrell here last week as one example, but there are many more.
Just like always, Halton is ahead of the curve. So we look forward to that. Members of the board, I look forward to seeing you all there. So with that, this meeting is now in recess. We will reconvene in closed session at 10:20.